No, I'm live. How did that happen? Oh, right. I'm Deconverted Man and Tucker Carlson. Atheism can't explain this. Dot 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 dot. What can't atheism explain? I don't know what that even means. Atheism doesn't explain stuff. It's a label. Why do people keep doing this with the word? Like they think theism can't explain anything either. It's a label. Okay, theism means you believe there's at least one God, if not more, broadly speaking. But it doesn't tell me anything else. It doesn't tell me which version of God you believe in, or if you believe in an afterlife, or anything else beyond that. Nor does atheism. But theists just don't understand words, I guess. Or at least this guy doesn't. So let's check it out, I guess.
Young men who were raised, most of them like raised secular, right? They went through the whole new atheism thing. They never went to church. They never grew up. I mean, I talked to so many guys, so many young men, I see, connect with me on X and places like that, where they're like, hey, I was not part of the church at all. I was not a Christian. And I see all of the evil everywhere, right? I see the things like you were talking about, like they are sacrificing babies. Like they care about this more than anything else.
Sacrificing babies? What? I guess they're alluding to abortion. I don't know, but abortion is one of those weird things that humans can do. And whether we permit it legally or not, people will still do it. There's all sorts of reasons that women don't want to have a kid, but they do want to have sex. Sex is very enjoyable, and it's going to happen. And the more education that we have about sex and contraceptives, the less likely it is that young people will have kids accidentally. And so, if you want to prevent abortion, then the best way to do it is education about contraceptives and access to them. Secondly, if you really don't like abortion, where's all your advocacy for alternatives? Why have you not focused at all on the utterly broken adoption system that there is? Uh, Halfway houses, adoption centers, yeah, a lot of the foster people, they aren't really good people somehow that get kids. And once you're in that group where you can get a kid, uh, you seem to be able to do it. And it doesn't make sense who can or can't adopt. It's very much controlled by religion, and it's broken. And then why don't we have all like artificial wombs and ways to transfer the fetus from the womb to the artificial womb? Why not promote that and advocate for science to have an alternative solution available? But really, why are you so obsessed with people getting rid of unwanted pregnancy? Because you value life, supposedly? Okay, but do you not value the life of the woman and or man involved? Or do you want to just force people to have kids because that's the consequence for having sex? Why not have an advocacy for a way to turn off our reproductive system scientifically without any condoms or pills or whatever, that we could flip it on and off at will? Why not do that? I mean, I don't get it. But as far as people being for the right to have abortion, I understand that, because this people are going to do it, so they need to be able to do it in a safe way. And you don't have to like it, but it's not you, it's them. But I don't know that people are obsessed with it.
The ability to murder a baby. They see things like the Ukraine war, where it's like, our rulers just decided to have a war, and kill millions of people for absolutely no reason.
And our proxies.
The Ukraine war was fought for absolutely no reason. Wow, you're just out of touch with reality. There's all sorts of reasons why that happened. So I don't know what to tell you about that, but it has nothing to do with atheism. So
to ban the majority Christian faith.
Yes.
Banned the majority Christian faith, the majority faith, which is Christian, in Ukraine. And I just wonder, just to go back to the atheists.
Yes, there's always going to be a negative consequence for humans when you try to ban or any belief or non-belief. If you ban atheism, you're going to have atheists go say no to that and rebel. If you ban Christianity, you're going to have Christians rebel. Whatever it is you try to ban, there's going to be a negative consequence for it. Also, if you try to enforce one religion over others, there's going to be a negative consequence of it. This has nothing to do with anything. So,
for a second, what do they make of this? Like, it just, I certainly understand being agnostic. Like, I don't know, I get it.
Yeah, I can see why someone would have that viewpoint.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty normal, place to be. I think it's wrong, but I don't think it's crazy.
Yeah.
But to be an atheist, to have determined that there is no God, like, what do you make of the things you see around you? If you never.
Okay, so here we go. Not understanding agnostic and atheist, and it's not that hard to do. You could just look it up. You could ask ChatGPT. There's so many resources available to find out what this word means, and I have to explain it again, even though all the viewers that I normally get, we all know what the word means, but I'm explaining it to them, whoever that might be watching that is not an atheist already. It is two things. I don't believe in God, and or there is no God. The latter one, actually, I suspect, and I really would love a wide-scale poll to be done on this, but I suspect that the strong stance, what's called strong atheism, is relatively minor. That most people would fall under, I don't believe in God. I could be wrong. But agnostic actually is a different term entirely. It means you don't believe that God can be known or not, can be proven or not proven. So that's a different position in full. You can be partial, you can be agnostic atheist. So it's like, I don't know that God can be proven or not proven, but I don't believe in it. Or I think there is none, even though I don't know that I can prove that. So you have to understand these words. I'm a skeptic. How about that? That seems to cut through all the weirdness of labels. Like, look, I'm a skeptic. Oh, okay, you doubt stuff. Well, not really, but okay, good enough, I guess. So I don't believe in God. Why? Well, ask me. I'll tell you. No evidence of God. But here comes Tucker with his things that he thinks should prove there's a God, I guess.
Held someone's hand while he dies? Like, what do you think that is?
Yeah.
You've never felt anything that is clearly outside of what science describes? Like, what?
You've never felt anything that's outside of what science describes. What? No. Everything that I have felt is a result of my brain being able to produce emotions. That is something that science can describe. There wouldn't be anything else, that we could not feel anything besides things that our brain could generate. So no one has ever felt something outside of what science explains, whatever that means. What do you mean by that? Have you had weird experiences? Sure, I guess. And at the time when I did believe in stuff, I thought those weird experiences meant something that I don't believe now. There's still experiences I can't really fully explain what happened or why or what was going on, but there's just mysteries. If you are around long enough, things are going to happen that are weird. So, okay, but they're infrequent events. And so why then and not now? Why then and not all the time? And there's just too many unknown variables that go into it to really answer the questions that I have about those events. But I see them now as just things that happened that my brain made something more of than it was. And it's a natural thing. And it's part of the natural world. But yes, at one point I thought that it was more than that, but I was wrong about that. So all you're doing is appealing to your personal experience and say, well, how do you explain this? Haven't you ever felt whatever? It's like, yeah, but I don't believe it is more than just a feeling. You do. That's a you problem.
How determined are you to ignore your life?
Yeah.
That you become an atheist? Like, what is that?
I know,
Do
it's
you know
crazy.
any?
Yeah, I
Because you investigate truthfully the claims that religion makes, and when you do that, you have no choice but to stop believing it. I didn't want to be an atheist. I didn't even know really the word. I was a Christian, and I made Christian content on YouTube under the name Infinite Hope. That channel doesn't exist anymore. I still have a few videos from it here and there, which I don't have right now because otherwise I would have put it up on April 1st, but I don't have them on my hard drive right now. But anyways, I really believed in God, and I really wanted people to have that experience of God. And what I found is that not everybody has experiences of God. Even people that do believe in God sometimes don't have those experiences. They've never felt God in some cases. They've never felt anything beyond feelings that they feel because their brains aren't able to do that. Now, that makes perfect sense via evolution. We have different brains. But under a system where there's a God that wants to have a relationship with you, why would it make certain people unable to experience God? That makes no sense. And you can't just say, well, it's sin. I guess you can say that, but you know, it doesn't really make sense. I stopped believing in the Christian God, and because you're taught that that's the only God, then that's it. Once I stopped believing in that God, there is no other God as a fallback position, because you're told that's it. There's only that God. So I don't believe in that God, and therefore I don't believe in any God. That's the end of that. I don't even know what God is per se. I know that people claim a lot of things about God, but nobody can demonstrate that God is those things. And I know because I've asked people many, many times to prove anything, and they never have citations, they never have proof, they never have anything other than just they say stuff. Or like this guy, I don't understand. I don't get it. Well, I know you don't get it, but that doesn't make you right. That just makes you ignorant.
I mean, it's funny because most of the people that you talk to are like, when they espouse kind of atheist ideas, right? They'll retreat. It's kind of a Mott and Bailey thing where they'll retreat to agnostic. Well, I'm agnostic. I don't really know for sure, right? So there's very few people, very few, especially now, that are like, no, I'm an atheist. There definitely is no God.
Well, it's like I said, it's pretty much always been that way as far as I can tell. Again, I don't have a wide scale pull to rely on, so I have to rely on my intuition, which could be wrong. And unlike these guys that seem so sure about what they're saying, I'm gonna be careful with what I'm saying and mention the fact that I don't know for sure that atheists wide scale would not say there's no God for sure, but say I don't believe in God. Which is not agnosticism, as I said. So, at any rate, what does it matter? Because it doesn't change anything. Whether the person says there isn't a God or they don't believe in God, essentially, they still don't have a belief in God. So there really isn't that big of a difference between the two, other than burden of proof sort of thing. But their position, epistemologically speaking, is essentially, well, one you don't have to prove. You don't have to prove belief statements or non-belief statements, but your idea about reality is essentially the same in a way. I don't believe in God is very close to there is no God. Essentially, because in either case, I'm saying I don't believe in it. So there is no God, and also I don't believe there's a God. But it depends what God you're talking about, doesn't it? So Yahweh, there is no Yahweh. There is no Allah. There is, the Prophet Muhammad wasn't a prophet. He was just a dude, and Islam more like Islam, because somebody in the comments of this video said, show me an atheist that goes against Islam. Well, I'd love to, but Islamics don't really make arguments. They just say that they're right. So there's really little to interact with them. More often than not, it's Christians making content on YouTube than Islamic people. I would love to. I'll go after anything that has a claim that I can point at and say, "Where's your proof of that?" But yeah, I went after Islam, so I guess now I'm a real atheist. Ooh, we should draw Muhammad more often. That used to be a thing, and we kind of, for whatever reason, stopped doing that. I don't know why. What else? Yeah, so whether I'm saying there is no God or I don't believe in God, what does it matter? Why does that matter at all? Even if it was the case that I'm switching from one position to the next, why does that matter? None of this proves that I'm wrong. None of this shows that you're right. So what are you complaining about exactly?
Right. Okay, well then, why is murder wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, because it is.
Why is murder wrong? Well, it's illegal. But if you made all killing legal, would killing be wrong? Because murder is a funny thing. Well, not funny, haha, but odd in the way the word works. Murder is illegal killing. So there is killing that can be done that is not illegal. If you are a soldier and you are ordered to shoot the enemy, you shoot the enemy. You've killed that person, and you've done so deliberately and legally. On the other hand, if you're in battle and you weren't told to fire at the enemy and you did, you might be guilty of some sort of war crime that is illegal. So now you've committed murder. But if you're in your car and somebody jumps up in front of your car, just literally jumps from the side of the road, well, It's manslaughter. It's an accidental killing. They killed themselves. They wanted to jump in front of your, they didn't know it was your car, but they jumped in front of traffic wanting to expire. It's not your fault. There's nothing you could have done to stop it. There's not enough time to do anything, but you still have, some sort of legal thing that's over you. Well, is it wrong? Okay, so forget about the murder thing, because you could make murder be not a thing by just making it legal killing. And in fact, Yahweh loves to do this in the Bible. You have 613 commandments, many of which end in stoning to death. So clearly that's killing people, but it's not murder because it's under the law. So it's legal killing. Is stoning to death bad? Yes, I think it is. Why? Because it is inflicting unnecessary suffering upon somebody else. Well, why is that bad? Well, because I know what it feels like to suffer, and I don't want somebody else to suffer because I have empathy. If you want a logical underpinning to all morals, let's just read my book, Logic and Morals. It gives a valid and sound argument for how to have morals with pure logic. I don't know if anyone's bought that book yet, but at any rate, why is it wrong? Killing of any kind, depending on what happened that caused it, is a tragedy, because that life is gone and they're never coming back. That's it. That uniqueness, that light in this world is extinguished. And that's a sad moment, because there is no more, or maybe there's a more, but I don't know. But that's it for here, at any rate. For this world, that's it. And that's the world I have to contend with. That's the world I must deal with, is this world, not any speculative afterlife world, because I can't know anything about that. So it's wrong in that sense that anything should die. But we evolved to consume food, and food is alive. Whether it's plants or animals, it doesn't matter. It's all living. You can't live on just minerals. So God doesn't seem to mind life ending, as long it's overly concerned with human life. Well, because we are humans, and we're concerned with other humans more than we are with other animals. Although some people are very concerned with their pets. That there was a video. A cop shot this dog, and everybody was, a whole bunch of people at any rate, were against the cop. He was wrong. He was evil. He was, all this thing. And I was like, yeah, because I hate dogs, But, that they value the life of that pet, because they have a pet that they value its life. And some people put that above humans. And for some reason, there was a game where you went around killing people, and the owner, as a joke, was alluding to that you might kill this little cute kitten, and everybody got pissed off. And they put the cute kitten in there, but you don't kill it. But it still pissed people off more than the fact that you could kill people in the game. Like, who cares? It's people, but you don't kill the dog. You just leave the animals alone. So I don't know, but at any rate, it's wrong because you are taking something of value away from the world, or something that has potential value away from the world. That is a known quantity, a known thing. Now, see, with abortion, it's an unknown thing, because it's not yet alive. It's becoming alive. It's becoming aware. But, it's not here yet, so it's not really aware, and I don't know how aware a baby is inside of the womb. You don't remember any of that stuff. I don't think that anyone really does, but maybe somebody somewhere did. I don't know. I don't know that's ever been demonstrably demonstrated, but at any rate, a person or another animal, why it's wrong to eliminate that person is because you are removing from the world something of value. Now, that should mean that you're against the death penalty, but are they? I don't know. They may or may not be. There's certain people that you might say, well, the world's better off without them. So you are saying that certain people should be dead. So why is it wrong then? Or not wrong then? You know, it's this, I don't understand, you know, this complicated question of why it's wrong to murder or kill, because we value human life, broadly speaking. And in some cases, we don't value human life because the human screwed up really badly or did something terrible.
It is, because it is, well, okay, I think it's right.
Yeah.
So how can you tell me it's wrong? By what authority?
Yeah.
Because you feel that way? That's your authority? Your emotions?
And you would see this. I remember.
So like the people you were saying who are atheists, like, they ever, some of them are smart, I assume.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do they say to that?
I remember,
Some of them are smart, I assume. It's wrong, like I said, it's wrong in the sense that you're depriving the world of somebody that is loved and cared for by other people, and because that person is now gone. If you're talking about killing another human, you're talking about if it's deliberate act and not accidental. You're talking about getting rid of somebody whose ideas are uniquely theirs. But what if they're a serial killer, and you know they're a serial killer, and you don't believe that the law is going to do anything, so you go and you shoot them and you kill them? Well, that's murder. But is it good that they're gone? Well, now hold on. Let's say you're for the death penalty. Let's get it a little complicated here. Let's say that you think the death penalty is a good idea, right? So scenario one is serial killer kills 10, 20 people, whatever. They get captured. They go to jail. They're waiting until they're on death row. They wait for however long, sometimes years. And then finally they're put to death by whatever execution method. I believe South Carolina is going to have a firing squad take out somebody at some point here. Maybe they already did it, which is really weird. But okay, whatever. So, okay, they're dead. But it was a lawful killing. Versus, same scenario, guy kills, girl, whatever, kills 10, 20 people, whatever it is, and the person shoots them and murders them. So they're still dead. It's just they didn't go through the judicial process. What's the difference? One is legal, the other isn't legal. Legal killing versus illegal killing. Why is this okay? Or if this is okay, why isn't this okay? Well, because it's illegal, so it's all based on subjective law. Or is both wrong? Or is both right? See, it's way more complicated. There's way more nuance here. And the problem is you guys are talking to each other rather than talking to a skeptic or an atheist, and not one that's hugely prominent, that's well known, but maybe, somebody like me. Give me attention.
I remember watching, previous guest of yours, actually the man who trained me in ministry, Doug Wilson, debate.
Wonderful man,
Christopher
nice
Hitchens.
Man. Yeah.
Right?
Oh yes.
And they had that discussion, right? And it was shocking to watch Hitchens say, well, it's common human experience, solidarity with mankind. That's why I think murder is wrong. And of course, Doug says to him, well, well, if you saw someone being like murdered on the street, you think that's bad, right? Well, why? And he goes into his whole spiel, and he's like, well, what if it's a pregnant woman and her baby's being murdered, right? You would just say, well, no, you need to have a medical license for that to kill that person, right? And like
what did Christopher say?
He's like, oh, you're being flippant.
Yeah, because it's much more complicated than that. Remember, it's legal killing versus illegal killing. It's only murder when it's illegal. So if you make abortion illegal, then yeah, it's murder. But if abortion is legal, then it's not murder. It's just killing. But yes, there's a difference between somebody deliberately killing a woman's child in her womb on the street versus a doctor doing so with as much safe ways to do that as we have available to us. There's a big difference there. And for you to flippantly suggest that there isn't, well, it is flippant and also rather ignorant.
You wouldn't go down that road.
What's so sad is I knew Christopher very well and always liked him enormously for his erudition, his ability to recite long passages of poetry, Philip Larkin and Orwell, and he was just he's a reader, like a dedicated lifelong reader, and a wonderful dinner and lunch companion. I had many highly drunken dinners with him before I quit drinking, and but he was and so I love Christopher, but he was a moralizer. Whoa.
Yeah.
And I was much younger, 25 years younger than I am now. And I never sort of put it together in my mind, like, how could an atheist be a moralizer?
Yeah.
Because morals aren't the exclusive domain of any religion. I know that the religious types like to pretend that it is. Morals have existed before religion existed. Morals have been with us since we were able to form a coherent society or small group of people. Morals exist even when you're alone and by yourself, because there's certain behaviors that if you do them, your life will end. Therefore, it becomes good to not do those behaviors, or it becomes bad to do those behaviors. You don't jump off a very tall hillside because you might injure yourself. And if you're all alone, you don't want to be injured, because then you could suffer from malnutrition and starvation and dehydration, and animals could come and get you and whatever. So you don't, therefore jumping off of something large becomes something that you avoid, becomes something bad, which is amoral. It is amoral that you instill in yourself because of the necessity of survival. And then when there's two people, the interaction between these two people is negotiated between those two people. And one person might be able to overpower the other person and be able to force that other person to do acts they don't want to do. But you got to sleep sometime. And so if they stay awake, they could get you in your sleep. So morals are the domain of humans, and you don't need religion or a belief in God to make morals work. And I guess I have to hawk my book again, Logic and Morals. It's on Amazon. Go buy it. Read it. Let me know what you think about that book. And in general, tell me what you think about stuff. Anyways.
Doesn't even make any sense, actually. Lent is here. The period before Easter, the 40 can. It's called section. People praying to
stupid ads.
Yeah.
What is that? It's like pray 40 challenge and clinch right now.
Yeah.
And I agreed with him on some things and disagreed on others, but he was always like in the pulpit, actually.
Yeah.
And a lot of the atheists are.
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
Well, I think so much.
What do you mean? What is that? I think I encountered somebody that didn't believe. Well, they didn't believe in the things the church was teaching, but they went to church anyways. I don't know what their position was, but I remember going the First Church of Christ And there was a guy that's like, I was talking to him about these ideas that the preacher was talking about. You have to be baptized in full immersion. And I'm like, I just don't agree with this. And he's like, well, I don't believe a lot of this stuff, but I still come here. And I was like, well, why do you come here if you don't believe it? And it's like he enjoyed the music, the community, I guess. I don't know. But there are people that go to church out of some sense of obligation or a need for community or because they like the music or they're just used to it. There's all sorts of possible reasons why a non-believer would go to church. I don't. I find it boring. But I also found it boring when I was a believer, so not much has changed. Although I did go when I was a believer. Now I don't, because why would I? Although I'm interested to see what an atheist church would be like, I haven't been to one of those. And I haven't been to a non-Christian church at all, even though there's nothing stopping me. I guess I'm not really that interested, I suppose, but maybe I'll go one of these days. But it's just to see what it would be like, see what's going on there, curiosity. So there you go, man. Not a hard question to answer.
How much of it is atheism really is
an
like
atheist moralizer?
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Well, it's a Christian.
You're hilarious. Your face is hilarious.
Heresy. Like they want to have all the things of Christianity just without God there.
No, I don't want anything of Christianity at all, not even a little. It's so funny to hear people that are Christians talk about Christianity as if it has any framework at all. Like, what morals are you extracting from the Bible exactly? Well, not to murder. Okay, you couldn't figure that out on your own? Don't eat shellfish. Oh, well, we don't do that one anymore. Don't wear mixed fabrics. Don't eat mixed fabrics either. Why not? You could, because that's one of the 613 laws. So that doesn't count anymore. Honor your father and mother, even if they're jerks. What morals are you really getting from there that you couldn't get from anywhere else, any other religion, or just come up with on your own? Again, you think that this is something unique to your religion. It's not. We don't need somebody to tell us what to do to understand what you do has consequences, as well as what you don't do. So your utter ignorance about how people are doesn't make you right. And your video is labeled that atheism can't explain this. But all you've demonstrated is you don't understand what atheism is, and you haven't demonstrated that there's something that it couldn't explain, even though that sentence doesn't make any sense anyways. So you have failed at doing what your videos suggest that you're supposed to be doing. Well, okay, we're almost done, so.
Right, so they want to be able to pursue all of these things, right? They want to be able to say this is right and this is wrong, but have no authority to ground it on.
Myself, I told me that it's wrong. That's all I need. I don't need authority. This authoritarian driven system, because authority. So a king presides over his kingdom. And says, every Thursday we find a young boy and we spank them real hard. Just once. That's it. Random boy under the age of 8. If we can't find a boy under the age of 8, we spank a girl under the age of 8. So, if today was your birthday, you're off. But if it's just before your birthday, you're in trouble. You're gonna get, we found you, so I'm getting spanked one time, real hard. Why? Well, just that's what the king ordered. And it's got authority. So that makes it okay. See, the king said to do it, therefore you do it because that's your grounding of authority. Your king said to stone people to death. So that must mean stoning people to death is a valid way to kill people for committing all sorts of crimes, many of which are all to do with adultery and sleeping around and stuff, but whatever. And some of which don't apply anymore, at least not unless you're a Levite, whatever. So yeah, it's just incoherent stuff. Your grounding of morals is a pretend authority source that doesn't exist, that you think is real, and you attribute these things to, and you say that's the answer. Well, this is divine command theory. And as an ethical system, there are many reasons why it's the worst ethical system, and I've covered this in many videos. Why DCT, I think I called it, or something like that. But I've covered this before. But the short and long of it is that you think that God tells you to wear hats on Sunday. And then there's another group of people who says they think that their God tells them to kill people that wear hats on Sunday. Well, now you both have authoritarian beliefs that can't be challenged because God can't be wrong. And so what happens? They come and try to kill you, and obviously you don't want to be killed, so you're going to have to fight against them. It's even worse if you think your God told you to kill people that don't wear hats on Sunday. So when you have an authoritarian-based system, you have things that cannot ever be questioned. And there's a problem with that, because when you can't question it, you can't decide if it is good or bad. You can't figure out under what circumstances it would be right or wrong to do this. Just because somebody is an authority doesn't make them right. And so the ultimate authority isn't right by default. And whatever it tells you to do, you must do. I say no to that. No to that in full, because I need to be able to question what it tells me. The story of Abraham is an ass-backwards story in my view. Abraham was told by God, kill your son, Isaac. Really? Oh, okay. He doesn't want to do it, but he gets Isaac, and then, no, we're going to go up here. Wonder what he told him, but whatever. He goes up to this certain spot that sacrifices are, and Isaac's like, okay, Dad, so where's the lamb? Where's the sacrifice? And Abraham's like, don't worry, it will be there for us. Like, and he's ready. He's going to do it. And then God's like, no, just kidding. I was a test. Ha ha ha. Here's a lamb that you can kill instead. So the story is obey God, and then God will reward you for your obedience. But that's backwards. The better story would be God tells Abraham, kill Isaac. And Abraham says, no, God, I understand that you're God, but killing is wrong. And I'm not going to kill somebody I love. I'm not going to kill anybody if I can avoid it. That's wrong, God. I don't want to do that. And then God says, oh, well done. You passed my test. You are moral. Because sometimes being moral is to disobey what the authority tells you.
Right, just by their say so. Right, it is such a
though.
conundrum. Yeah.
What? It's wrong.
Well, and you could see
Okay, why?
Because I said so, and why not? Why can't I be my own authority? Reference Short Circuit. I told me. I need to do part 2 of that, maybe. I didn't get a lot of comments, so. Oh. Anyways, yeah, so I don't need an authority to back up that it's wrong to do X, Y, or Z, or that it's right to do A, B, and C. You believe that an authority is needed, but you believe incorrectly. It's just people saying, hey, let's not do this. Yeah, that seems like a good idea. Like, read Those That Walk Away from Homeless. You get a great example of a perfect utopian society that is actually not perfect. And that's just a beautiful, do a whole video just talking about that, reading the thing and then talking about it. But at any rate, yeah, you don't get it, and you think it's funny. Okay.
Yeah, you can see why it's breaking down though. Today,
under the weight of its own silliness.
Yeah, it creates this vacuum, and it's being replaced by something. So all of the moralistic energy is still there, and now it's gone to things like transgenderism, abortion,
Yes.
Gaza, whatever. Like it goes.
Abortion, transgenderism, Gaza. Those aren't atheist things. Those are each their own thing. Transgenderism, I don't even know that that's the correct word to use. It's a phenomenon that's psychological in nature / biological in nature. I don't understand enough about it to talk about it. It's not my field at all. So I'll leave that be. You have issues with it. That's a you problem. I'm like, I don't know, whatever. People do whatever people do. Okay. Who am I to say no to that? I'm not, this is not my life, I have some concerns, but, again, all I could do is say, hey, I'm worried about this. Okay. Yeah. I'm too, whether or not people do it or not, it's kind of up to them. And we as a society will figure out whether it was a good idea or not. Sadly, a lot of people will have to suffer for us to figure out if it's a good or bad idea. Like if it's a bad idea, we'll see that as a result. Look how many people suffered. Oh man, we were wrong. We went about this the wrong way. And a lot of people are saying, well, we already know that it's bad. Look at the consequences. And I'm like, well, we haven't figured that out yet. Even though you think that you have, we haven't figured that out yet. Because it does take time to really get it. Like, we figured out, hey, maybe it's fine that people are gay. Who cares? And some people are like, why did it matter? Why did they have to come out as gay? Like, why couldn't they just be gay? Well, but because they couldn't be gay in secret because you weren't allowed to be gay. So they had to make it out so that people knew that gay was a thing, and then it's okay to be gay. Now nobody cares, so nobody has to come out of the closet, so to speak. But then again, there's no reason to not come out of the closet. You don't have to hide it. In other words, you can just be it, and it doesn't matter because now it doesn't matter. But the uphill battle that those people had to fight to get that shouldn't have been a thing, but it was a thing because people didn't understand that these people were suffering until they made it evidently known that they were suffering. And then people were like, oh, okay. And in the same way, transgender people may or may not be suffering, and maybe the way that they're going about it is a good thing, or maybe it's a bad thing. I don't know. We'll figure that out. Maybe it's good for some people, but not for everybody, and we'll sort it out. It will solve itself. And it is tragic that there will be those people that will be affected badly by decisions made by themselves and others. That's part of life, man. It's complicated. Things happen. But you're thinking that has anything to do with atheism? No, it has nothing to do with atheism. Gaza, again, that's a political thing, and there's stuff going on there. There's always been stuff going on there. There's going to continue to be stuff going on there because everybody's fighting over what they, some stupid holy land, which is just ridiculous in my view. It's just dirt, man. Why are you fighting over dirt? Why not just like split the temple into three? Like have the Jewish side and the Muslim side and the Christian side, and just have lines that go into those sides, or maybe everybody can go on whatever side they want as long as they're respectful. Now, I've been told and I've read and I've heard that the Jewish people have tried to make peace with the Muslims, but the Muslims don't want peace. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that's what I've read and heard. So as an atheist skeptic, I don't know. An atheist doesn't tell me anything. Skeptic means I have to question everything that I read and not know if it's true or not because I don't have the data on it. I'm not there. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know that I can trust the people that report on what's going on there. So, but it's not an atheist thing. Anyways.
To all of those routes, it goes to BLM and rioting.
Yes,
like
that's right.
And so
because it's
highly religious.
It's in us.
Yeah,
it's in us. We can't get away from the conviction, the true conviction that some things are right and some things are wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to grant you a little bit there, but just a little. People can be religious about various things, and the idea that certain things are right and wrong is very much ingrained in us at some level because, well, that's how we develop as a human. We see other people and how they act, and so we mimic that. Basically, our morals form as mimicry. And so if you are in an abusive household, your morals won't form very well. They might form okay, but they're going to be influenced by that environment. And if you're in a good environment, then you probably will have good morals, but it's not guaranteed because something might be wrong with your brain. And so that happens. There's this like loving couple that had a kid that all of a sudden they discover a head of a person in the kid's closet. And it just ruins them. They're like, what? We did everything right. We loved them. We gave them everything that they needed. We didn't punish them excessively. We did, everything we did was done right. And yet they still killed somebody. Why? And, can we forgive them for that? How do we deal with that? How do we understand that? Well, you understand it because biology. There's no explanatory power under theism. Well, that person's just bad because the world's bad, because people sinned, and so that made the world bad. That's not really an explanation. The explanation is their brain turned out a certain way due to random mutations that happen in people's brains. And unfortunately, they got the bad part. They didn't get a good part. And had we known, or had we been able to change that, or if we could still change it, then that person won't have the desires to kill people anymore. And then ideally we could let them back into society. But that technology isn't yet a thing yet, or is being developed still. Your ignorance about things just doesn't mean anything to me. But it doesn't surprise me either. All right. So is there anything more? Yeah, they've got a little bit more.
Yeah, it's fundamentally human. Absolutely.
So, but an atheist would have to, by definition, be utterly non-judgmental about everything. Like on this.
No, absolutely wrong. That's a belief you hold. I can judge everything. I don't need a God for any of that. I don't need a God for morals. That's a you belief. You believe that. You believe God is required for ethics and morals to make sense. Actually, I view DCT as being the worst of ethical systems, and I think we could do much better than that. And if we're going to use DCT, why not come up with a better God than your God? Why not come up with morals that are good morals? But the problem is with unquestioning authoritarian stance, always do X. That's not flexible for real life. It just isn't. There's going to be cases where doing X is appropriate and the right thing to do. But it's going to be very hard to figure out when and where and how, because it's complicated, because life is complicated. It's not as simple as never do it. There's circumstances where doing it makes total sense.
You would think they should be, but they're the most judgmental people.
It's unbelievable.
Right?
I mean, Christopher at dinner was always lecturing me about the Kurds. And I'm nothing against the Kurds.
Yeah.
I don't know much about the Kurds. I ran into them in Iraq. They were the most bloodthirsty people in Iraq. I did notice that. Yeah. But he was so, again, I'm not against the Kurds. I'm not an expert in Kurdishness. But he would like lay down his life for the Kurds.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, what is this? And it was the need to sort of find a good guy and a bad guy and put yourself on the good guy's side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, humans behave like humans. I don't understand that. Ooh. Morons. Do you have anything intelligent to say? Is any of this even about atheism, really?
Yeah, and that's human. Like
it's human.
We want
that.
That's
totally true.
Yeah.
So what did you say to your church when you left?
That was one of the hardest days of my life.
I believe it.
To tell them I'm leaving. I'm going to Tennessee. And it was difficult. I still have a connection with them, relationship with them. I'm still trying to find them a pastor to replace me, right? It's hard for me to do that because, like, well, you left, Andrew. Why you want me to go there now? But they need one, and they're wonderful, wonderful people who have blessed me immensely. And I just told them that.
All right. Yeah, they've blessed him. They paid him a lot of money. All right, so nothing really about atheism. There wasn't really anything that atheism couldn't explain. And again, that phrase doesn't make any sense. So, So Tucker Carlson doesn't understand atheism. And as a joke, doesn't understand much of anything at all. I think he knows some things about certain things. But this special field that you have, you might be very good at that field and not very good at any other field. And so now that Tucker Carlson has a little podcast, I guess that we'll see that he doesn't really know much of anything other than what he knows about. But why only talk to other people that believe what you believe? Why not talk to people who don't? And although Alex Connor has gotten pretty popular, is he an atheist? Like, he's kind of an atheist, but, like, I don't know. Is he a true atheist? No, I don't know. Anyways, hey, more power to him. I'm no Alex Connor. I'm never going to get that popular or famous, and I don't know that I'd want to. I'm happy with the quality of people that I have over quantity. Because you guys and girls and robots that comment, even though you never comment on the actual video for some reason, keep telling you to do it until you do it. Anyways, your quality. And I'd much rather have that than 1 million followers. Unless the 1 million followers were all quality people, but I doubt that. Anyways, thanks for watching and listening, and hopefully it was interesting and entertaining or whatever. And if you have your thoughts, put them in the comments, I guess. And until next time, stay skeptical. And after next time, keep being skeptical. I mean, it's not going to change. And just still do it. Keep doing it. Oh, and next time I might pontificate upon giving up on atheism. What does that mean? Ooh. What does it mean to give up on atheism? Not in the way that you might think. It is kind of a clickbaity title. And I'm not going to tell you what to expect, because then I want you to be like, what the hell are you talking? Got to give you a to be continued. Ooh. All right. Now I'm done.